Good evening, everybody, and welcome into the iRacing Today radio show for February the 4th. We're already in February of 2016. Holy crap, we're like 1/12 of the way through the year already. Cannot believe it. This is show number 130. My name is Trevor Cameron. I am your host of this wonderful television program. I consider it a television program, even though we have no television deal, and it's really only on the internet, but I also consider us a radio program, and we're not on that either, so... Except for some people who put us on their, their little box in the middle of their, their car things, and it almost looks like we're on the radio because it says our name there. But we're not on terrestrial radio because, no, we're on the internet where we can do whatever we want. What I want to do right now is I want to introduce my co-host, Mr. Chad Dalton. How are you doing tonight, Chad?
I'm doing great, Mr. Cameron. That was a very different introduction.
Man, you think
Not
that...
to me, but to the show.
You think that was a different introduction. I've already got plans laid out for the first show after, hopefully, I win the Division 8 championship in the the IndyCar Winter Series. You don't even know what to expect when that happens, man. I've got plans, I've got props, I've got everything ready for that, man. It's only going to be funny to like me and John Hensley, but I don't care because I will love it.
Oh, well. Never mind.
But this, of course, is the iRacing Today radio show. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope everybody's having a great day, night, evening, afternoon, or nap. But hopefully you're not napping while you're listening to us because, well, that's rude. And, I don't care for that sort of behavior.
No,
don't put them to sleep, Chad. That's not how this works. Okay. Anyway, we have got a great show for you guys this evening. We've got some news, of course, as we normally do. We've got our App I&I file segment and a bonus rookie tip in there. We have got, in the news segment, we've got dates for the iRaceforLife.org seminar, which we'll talk about a little bit, and David Ankney's confusion on how money works, but we'll talk about that a little bit.
He's available.
And, of course, talking about the Daytona 500, give you the details on that and our league stuff. We'll mention that a bit. And some stuff that we might be seeing in the next build coming up in March. And a new way to pay with iRacing stuff, which makes no sense to me because I've never heard of it before, but apparently it's important to some people that I'm not aware of. We'll get through our experiences on and off the track. Our poll question is going to, be gone through because a month has ended, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. And we've got a...
Did you really just say has going to be gone through?
I mean, see, that's the thing. I live in Canada. I can say things and people just assume that it's a national dialect thing, and they'll just pass it off if you don't call attention to it. They just assume that's how we talk up here. So, see...
So
way to ruin the illusion, buddy. Way to ruin the illusion.
People think you guys talk like idiots?
Oh, says the man who lives in the country who might elect Donald Trump as their president.
He's richer than you.
It's like, I don't know. I'm Donald Trump. What can we do to make this dog and pony show more ridiculous? I don't know. Add Sarah Palin to it. Because it's not stupid enough already.
Does my hair look good?
I don't know. Put me on radio. Put me on television. I'll just spout crazy crap out my mouth, man. I don't know. That'll help you make a president and work for John McCain.
Did you also mention we're doing the app file tonight? I
did at the very beginning. Okay. But also on top of that, we be talking about your guys' sim rig stuff. And doing a show in order to, to celebrate you, our listener, and kind of put the spotlight on you guys. And we're not going to be doing that tonight. You guys have been sending in a ton of submissions, and thank you very much for that. But we're going to explain why we're not doing that tonight and what our plan is. So kind of covering what the next 2 weeks is going to look like here. So we've got a little bit of changes and a couple things going on. So we're going to let you guys know what's going on with that as well. So, now that we've insulted Donald Trump and Sarah Palin and
Canada.
I didn't insult John Hensley. I said he would get the joke that I was going to be pulling off of everything, so that's different. I may have insulted John McCain, but I think I was just in his choice of running mate. But anyway, getting into the show with something that I actually forgot to mention that we were going to be talking about, and that has to do with nothing racing related, Chad. So why don't we start off with that?
It does not. It actually has everything to do with chasing a white ball around a field. That's the best way that I could explain it. So for those of you that own the golf club, either on the PS4, the Xbox One, or PC, come play in our show golf tournament because we launched it like 10 minutes ago.
Again.
So the original plan, which I thought worked but didn't work, was I launched it, actually, in all seriousness, I did launch it on Monday, but for some reason, it vanished into the wild blue yonder, and I don't know why. Fortunately, somebody pointed that out to me today and was like, hey, I'm trying to play the tournament, and I can't find it. And I was like, okay, have you looked here? Yes. Have you looked here? Yes.
Did you open the golf club? Did you look in there? Is it plugged in, sir?
Have you tried turning it on and off again? And lo and behold, I signed on just a little while ago, and it literally is not there. So not sure what happened to it. I have relaunched it. It was there for me, and the other person said that it was there for them. So when you sign on to the golf club, go under Tournament. That is key. It is under Tournament. And search out for IRTRS Tour, which obviously stands for our show. And then it should pop up instantly. There are 4 rounds. We are playing at Gowalla, I think it is, golf club or something like that.
Gowalla?
I forget the name at the moment. And it was suggested by a listener of our show, and I played it on Monday just to check it out after they suggested it. And holy moly, it is a very nice course.
Yeah. Just to check it out. No, to get an edge on the competition is what he was doing.
For the record, the score that I shot has already been beaten by Jeff McPherson, so I don't think I have much of an advantage.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So, 30 days from now, so February the 4th, 30 days from now, is when the tournament will end, so you have plenty of time to do practice rounds and then go out and actually play the 4 rounds. Now, the way that I think this is going to work, it's going to be a little different than the last one, because I put all 4 rounds into one deal, because there's only one course. See, last time we had one course, but there were 4 versions of the course, because we had different pin placements and green speeds and stuff. But this time, it's the same course all the way through. No changes.
Is the weather at least nice? Because I remember one day in that tournament was horrible. It was like, man, I would not be out golfing in this. I'm cold. I'm miserable. I'm pretty sure it's raining.
You complain about being cold for. You're from Canada.
We don't golf in the cold. Well, okay, we do, but that's not the point.
So, okay. Now you're a politician because you're lying. So we have launched that tournament. It will be the same conditions. The only thing that will be different, which I cannot control, and the game controls, is the wind. So you're on your own on that one. It really is a nice course. I don't know who made it. Mike something was his name, username. But it really is a nice course. I think you guys are going to be impressed by it. So, anyways.
From henceforth, I am now abandoning Ratface as my username when I join games. My name is now going to be Mike something.
No, Mike something.
Like Mike something.
So, that is that. Now, something that we mentioned last week, just to clarify, Trevor mentioned that the Merc, somebody asked if the Merc was going to be released in the new build, and iRacing said, yup.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the clarification on that is actually the Mercedes AMG GT3, and Steve Meyer says that they are shooting, is his exact words, for that to be released in the March build. So, That's still kind of a toss up from Steve, even though the iRacing Twitter was all like, "Yep, that's happening." But
iRacing Twitter says, yup. Steve Myers says, well, what we meant to say was actually that is our
shoot,
target goal date for it, but there are many factors that could play into this.
yes.
iRacing, here's a dictionary. You need to alliterate a little bit more.
So from now on, yep, it does not work, unfortunately. So that is that. And moving on, iRaceforLife.org, racing for a reason. In case you're not familiar about the iRaceforLife.org website, well, I just gave you the website address. It is I race, I win, I give. So basically, you can join and give money to charity. I participated in this a few times. The cool thing is that they have different membership levels, so you can commit to $5, $10, or $15 each time that you win an official race, meaning a points race, or an official league race, meaning a league that I think is in their list of acceptable leagues, if you will. But they also have a seminar, which is like the coolest thing ever. And something that I really wish Trevor and I could go to one day and record a show from. So if anybody
Yeah.
happens to have some extra cash laying around, I don't know, fly us to Texas.
Well, and you can go in and give us money through our GoFindMe account, as Chad put it. You guys probably didn't see the Twitter exchange that came up around this the other day, but it was the most ridiculous, nonsensical stuff that ever happened. I mean, because David Ankeny, who's one of the main organizers of this, is he not? I believe, or he's at least involved with these guys. And you remember us mentioning he was from the RCRL. But anyway, he comes on. It's like, hey, you guys should do a show from there. And Chad's all like, yeah, we should set up a GoFindMe account so people can give us money. And David says, well, I can help out by being available while you're there. It's like, none of this gets us to Texas. None of this is helping anything.
I meant to say fund. My phone changed it and I didn't catch it. That's my defense. It was funny.
So if we use our GoFindMe account and David's hanging around at the airport, I guess we magically appear.
We will. We'll just automatically show. It's the future technology.
I'll just be walking around, everything's great, whatnot, boom, I'm in Texas. I don't know how this happened.
Hey, David, how's it going? I see you're available to take us to the seminar.
Is he our personal Uber? I don't know.
Yes. That was entertaining. But back to the story. And in all seriousness, the iRaceforLife.org iRacing seminar, I believe, what is this, their fourth one? Or at least their third.
I almost want to say fourth or fifth, but
Yeah. They've done quite a few of these, but they do it annually. And this year, the dates are April 27th through the 29th in 2016, obviously. It is free to sign up, but they want you to sign up pretty quickly because obviously it's going to fill up and they only have so much room. Special guests this year include, let's see here, Darren Ganji, Wyatt Gooden, Michael Main, we know him. It just says Thrustmaster, so I don't know.
I want to imagine
Is that just the steering wheel's going to show up?
that there's a man that works at the Thrustmaster company who's just named Bob Thrustmaster.
Probably. Let's see. Eddie Gossage, the Texas Motor Speedway president, will be there. I believe he was there last year. Mm-hmm. David Cater is on the list, but I don't know if he's feeling better yet or not.
I'm sorry, was that David Cater or was that David Carter?
Cater. Have we heard word yet, actually, if
Nope.
he's doing better?
As of right now, and I put those out on the, I believe it was February 28th, 2 years ago. For those longtime listeners, I said that David Cater's name was David Carter, and Chad corrected me, so I decided to find if there were any David Carters on the service. There were two. I sent them friend requests, and it's been almost 2 years now, and neither is accepted, so I guess I can't be friends with David Carter. But hopefully David Cater is feeling better. As we mentioned a few weeks back, he was going through some medical situations, so I haven't actually seen an update on that lately, but hopefully he is doing better and will be able to make it out for this, because I know he he's mentioned before that he really enjoys heading out for the seminar. So, and hanging out with the users of iRacing. So hopefully he is feeling a lot better. Well, for more reasons than just that, but hopefully he is back on his feet.
Absolutely. So anyways, it's a very cool event. A lot of people bring their sim rigs. Some people don't. They do provide some. So it's a lot of racing. And I know last year they had Ray Alfala there and David Cater, and they were talking setups and things like that. So it's a very cool event. It happens in Dallas, Texas, or Fort Worth. And if you go to the iRaceforLife.org website, they give you some hotel and airport options and information for all of that. And it has a complete list of all the special guests and instructors and sponsors and prizes and food and tournaments and all kinds of stuff that they do. They have a lot of fun. I really want to go.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe one day.
I almost actually made it last year, if you guys remember, because I had a work trip that was booked around that time, and it was originally scheduled to actually overlap with that, but then got moved, so it didn't. But
Yeah.
so I almost got to go and didn't even have to ask people for money. I almost got to go on my company's dime, which would have been even
Yeah.
better. But sadly, did not happen.
You should rig that up this year and bring me with you.
I should, except for I have one trip currently scheduled in April, and it's to Virginia, which is not. So I guess if you're flying out and I get to Virginia, then we could go together. I mean, but unfortunately,
Works for me.
The customer who's flying me out might get annoyed if all of a sudden I just disappear. Hey, all right, I'm here for there. I'll be gone for the next 3-4 days, but I'll be back. I'm totally going to do this work that you guys hired me for. So, but so.
The World Championship Series. There are 3 of them now. Of course, we have the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, the Grand Prix Series on the roadside, and the Block Pain GT Series, which is that new team racing deal. All 3 of these are set to begin very soon, with the earliest starting premiere, I guess, being, of course, the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series that will be at Daytona International Speedway, and that'll be on February the 23rd. They will race 16 seasons. Wow, there we go.
It's a very long championship. If you make it to the
It's
end of
endurance.
this as the champion, you have earned it.
You have. 16 weeks is what I meant to say. They have 1 drop week in weeks 1 through 12 and 0 in weeks 13 through 16. So that's kind of a win it on track setup right there. So you've got to be good. 1 drop week for the whole year for the whole 16 rounds. But it does last basically for a year. The first race is on February 23rd. The last race, season finale, is at Homestead on October the 11th. All races are on iRacing.com/live, and they start at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. The Grand Prix Series is pretty much the same setup. 16 rounds, 1 drop week for the first 12, 0 for the remaining. They begin on February the 27th at Interlagos, and they will end on October the 8th at Circuit of the Americas. And their races are also on iRacing.com/live, beginning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 1400 GMT. And last but certainly not least is the Block Plane Endurance GT Series, which I added the endurance part, which really shouldn't be there. They will begin on April the 23rd with the 3 hours of Monza, and they will finish on October the 1st with the 3 hours of the Nürburgring, which will probably be like a grand total of 5 laps. There will be 0 drop weeks for them, although they only have 5 rounds instead of 16. Those races also on iRacing.com/live, beginning at 9 a.m. Eastern, 1400 GMT. So if you're into your World Series Championship racing, you're going to get a big old fix of it this year.
Yep, it tis the season for everything to just be starting back up again. The long doldrums of the winter have finally ended, and we are like literally days away from some of the major series actually starting up. So, of course, the Sim series are starting up as well. Like, we're like so close to Daytona now. It's so cool.
We are.
Man, it's been a long winter. Like, it's a short off season, but it feels like forever, I swear.
Okay. And
Did you just have a stroke?
No, I was just listening to you. Last thing that I will mention that is news from me is Kevin Bobbitt made a post 2 days ago, and he says, and I quote, This is under the World Tour and special events, so basically the World Warrior stuff, if you will. He says, based on feedback, we are planning some updates and changes to the rest of the 2016 special events. Have not finalized things and need to test some things as well. Here's what we are thinking. 2 additional time slots for the endurance events for a total of 3. More flexible times for members in other parts of the world, unless you're in Australia. As well as spreading the load a bit, needing the website load. The additional times would be Saturday at 2 p.m. GMT and Saturday at 1700 GMT. They're also looking at new cars for the Le Mans race. Let's see, the HPD. They're looking at adding the GT1 cars would be the Corvette and the Aston Martin, of course. And the GT2 would be the Ford GT. For the Nürburgring 24, they're looking at running the Ref C-Spec, the Mustang FR500S, which is interesting. To toss that one in there. The 2016 keyword Mazda MX-5 Cup. What does that mean? And the Kia Optimal or Optima.
Optimal.
Optimal. It's optimal.
It's the best Kia they could make. We're going to start. We're going to stop designing now. We've reached the pinnacle. We're
Perfection. And then the Volkswagen TDI, and then he puts in parentheses maybe. Once we sort out the details and finish testing, I'll update the original post to reflect any changes. Just wanted to give you a heads up. We are working on some things to make these events even better. The first 2 people said good news and I love you. So,
right, and I mean,
happy.
And it's good that they're that they're at least providing. Since they're making these changes based on feedback, it's good that they're bringing them out to the the general audience to say, hey, here's what we're planning, but nothing's set in stone, so people can actually have some feedback on that. And feedback they did, mostly about the fact that the Nürburgring 24 had no GT3 cars, and everybody was really, 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 really mad about that because that's apparently basically the main class that runs in the Nürburgring 24. So a lot of people were all like, hey, what the heck? So I don't know. I haven't read through the entire 5 pages. I don't know if they've backpedaled on that or not, or made any sort of explanation. But that was the main thing people were concerned with. It seems like the additional times people were pretty happy about. I think it's a good idea. I mean, we saw with the Daytona 24 that we did have some website issues, and while we're still in this state where things are maybe not the best instability-wise, spreading out the start times makes sense. And it also makes sense from the fact that if a team is completely in, Europe or, on one side of the pond or whatever, then it allows the team members to get together at the start and, make it a little bit easier for, the beginning of the endurance races. Because they're not all 24. Some are 6, some are 12. So, if you could run it all in daylight hours, well, hey, that could be better for the people, across the pond kind of thing, as opposed to over here where it's not so bad for us. Well, except for that 6 o'clock in the morning thing for me. But anyway. So,
who's complaining, right?
I complained a lot. I mean, I don't know if you were listening, but
well, it is strange that the Nürburgring does not have any GT3 cars, because that is probably one of the bigger GT3 car events, along with Bathurst and Spa. So it's kind of like, huh? Okay. I mean, seriously, think about it. The Bathurst 12-hour, which is this weekend, I might add, in real life, and the Spa 24-hour, and the Nürburgring 24-hour. Those are all big GT3 fields. Mm-hmm. So why are they wiping out GT3 cars in the Nürburgring?
I'm sure there was a reason. I mean, it had to have been a logistical reason, or there was an oversight, and they just kind of, made an oopsie. I don't know. But
whoopsies!
That's a technical term,
Didn't mean to type in no GT3 cars. My bad. Are we allowed to say that still? I remember you used to yell at me for that.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to.
Okay.
My main question out of that post is the GT2 car, the Ford GT, is the name of the Ford GT car that is the GT2 car. Is it called the Ford GT GT2? Much like the Ford GT GT3. Because if you're going to have a dumb name, you should at least be consistent with your dumb name. That's all I'm saying.
And make another dumb name.
That's called consistency, man. You need to speak to your fan base and your user base, man. At least they know what to expect, and that's good. Even if it's bad.
Last thing I'll mention, I'll let Trevor talk for a while because I'm getting kind of tired of talking.
Well, yeah.
Rookie tip that was reminded to us, well, yeah, to us, from Doug Roth, who has been a longtime listener of the show all the way back to when Trevor was all by his lonesome doing this show.
Good times. Good times.
I can hit stop right now and just leave.
Yeah, that's it. Headset comes off.
Eject. Abort.
Just nothing but the webcam looking at this chair for the rest of the show.
Anyways, so Doug reminded us about a tip that we have not mentioned. So here's I wanted to say an impromptu rookie tip, but we kind of planned it.
Yeah, it's not really impromptu. It was impromptu because we hadn't planned prior to starting the show.
But then we planned it. So the rookie tip is this. It's one that he says that he has found very useful. And of course, like I said, Trevor mentioned it when he was doing this by himself in the early days of the podcast. Don't know which episode. But it is a very good tip. It's something that we both known about for a while, and it is very helpful if you need it. So, using the keypad part of your keyboard, which of course, if you're looking at your keyboard, far right part of the keyboard. I can't talk. When you're watching a replay, if you hit Control and the number 3 on the keypad, excuse me, it will focus on any incidents that happened on the track. If you hit Control and the number 1 on the keypad, it will go to a previous incident that happened on the track. So for people that maybe run a league and are reviewing races and checking out incidents, that can be extremely helpful in finding incidents much quicker instead of sitting there and fast forwarding through every lap. Oh, there was a spin. Pause, rewind, watch replay. Now you can just click to it. So that is something that he brought back to our attention, and we wanted to mention it in case you have no idea that it existed.
I'd completely forgot about it as well. So
yes,
until you brought it up, it's like,
it's
oh
there.
Yeah, right. So
okay, talk.
Oh, wow, that was, and we're done. Dump. There you go. So, anyway, thanks to Dave for bringing that back up again. So we could bring it up to our listeners. Actually, while you were talking, I was looking for one other thing that I forgot to put into the show notes, because we did talk a little bit about the stutter issue, the freezing issue that everybody's been having, back up, that a lot of you have been experiencing. We talked about that a little bit last week, and Tony actually came on, Mr. Gardner that is, came on to the forums and made a post in kind of response, sort of, to a lot of the negative posts that have been on there. And just kind of, not going in there saying, hey, everybody stop complaining, and it wasn't one of those, but it was a post just kind of putting some perspective on some of the issues they've been facing and what they're doing about it and stuff like that. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your guys' attention. I will put a link in the show notes. I cannot find it right now, but I'm sure I'll be able to find it as soon as I'm no longer looking for it. But anyway, he did come on the forums and address some of the issues that you guys have been experiencing. So I just wanted to make a quick mention of that. Now, we have a Daytona race coming up. The iRacing Daytona 500, because it's almost Daytona weekend, and they are having it over the course of that weekend, February the 18th to the 22nd, which is, of course, part of the NASCAR iRacing series, which we've talked about last week and I think the week before, where they play out the entire NASCAR season, and some of them are full-length races, such as this one. So an entire 500 miles around Daytona International Speedway, circa 2015, because they went and changed it all in the off-season. But, not the track, really. It's the grandstands and the area around it and whatnot. But anyway, so they are having, that will fall into the normal series of races, which we talked about, when the fixed and the open have their actual races. So you can go into the forums to find all that information out if you so desire. But anyway, your chance to race in the Daytona 500 is coming up February the 18th to the 22nd, with a bunch of time slots, so pick the one that fits your schedule best and whether or not it be fixed or open. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure I will not be able to participate in that this year, which is sad because I think I've pretty much gotten most of them. I think I might have missed a year, but I'm pretty sure I'm missing this year for reasons that will become clear in a little bit, which we'll talk about when we talk about the show over the next 2 weeks. But unfortunately, I won't be participating in that, and I think you were kind of questionable on that one as well, weren't you, Chad?
Yeah, we'll see. I want to race, but it kind of depends on my whole data usage and everything like that. So
True enough.
if I don't, I don't. It's no big deal.
But also, speaking of long races, Scott Feldhausen has, as we mentioned last week, is trying to start up a league surrounded around listeners of the show and people that we participated with and interacted with and all that good fun stuff, because he knows you guys are a bunch of really good, even-headed racers who are going to be good out there on the track because you guys are awesome. So anyway, he is starting up a league, and we put the link in the show notes last week. We'll do so again this week, of course. But he wants to do a full-distance Talladega race to kind of kick things off. And when was he planning on doing that? Was that next week?
February the 13th.
Okay, thank you, sir. So prepare for Valentine's Day by racing for a whole lot. And then say, oh crap, I didn't go out and buy a gift from my sweetheart. I should probably have done that before I sat down for 500 miles. Because now I'm tired and don't want to go drive to the store. So, rookie tip, make sure you do that beforehand. But anyway, we'll put the league details in the show notes so you can go check that out. Or, of course, I'm pretty sure if you searched for the iRacing Today Radio Show League, you'd find it. Because, well, that's why we have a search feature in there. Now, speaking of the new build, which we even talked about with some stuff that was coming in when we mentioned at the beginning of the show about that GT3 car coming out. Apparently, the Formula Renault 2.0 is 2.0. Really, is that the name of the car? The 2.0. It's not a computer. It's not software. But I guess.
Oh, but it is.
The Formula Renault 2.0. This time it's personal, is slated to be released with iRacing's next build update, which is coming in March. Man, people needed name cards better. Well, and I guess I was actually reading up stories on the upcoming Formula One season, and they were mentioning, here's our new chassis, and I think the Red Bull is the RB17. Yeah, so naming your car stupid things, it's kind of a trend. So I guess, maybe it's just dumb to me. I'm in Canada. I don't know.
Do you know that Darrell Waltrip named one of those cars Dolly one point?
Dolly.
Dolly. After Dolly Parton. Do you know why?
I don't even want to hazard a guess because the first thoughts that came to my mind, I don't want to speak into a microphone.
He said because it's what's out front that matters.
That's along the lines of I was thinking. But at least that's a classy way to say it. Way to go, DW.
I thought it was funny.
My wife calls our van Betsy. Is that, that's...
Betsy?
Betsy. And you know what? And now, in honor of Renault and their honored tradition in motorsports, when we get another van, I shall call it Betsy 2.0. I'll just get and I'll emblazon it on the side, in big decals. Betsy 2.0. The return.
So tell me about this new payment thing.
This new payment thing. It's apparently called Payment Wall, which really doesn't sound like a friendly thing to do. Because a wall is something that impedes your progress. You want to make a payment to iRacing? Well, here's a wall you got to get through first. Payment Wall. Apparently, iRacing.com announced today, which may not actually be today, I think it was yesterday, that Payment Wall global payments platform has been added as a new payment option for members. Quote from Mr. Tony Gardner: "We are thrilled to add Payment Wall to our existing list of payment options. Many iRacers around the world have asked us to add more payment options that are used in their native country," said iRacing.com president Tony Gardner. He continues to say, With Payment Wall, we just added 130 new options! Explanation point excitement! Payment Wall is a highly secure payment platform that includes over 130 payment options covering 200 countries and 75 currencies. So apparently this is a big deal. Apparently I am the minority here that has never heard of Payment Wall because 130 payment options. How many different ways can you pay for things? I don't know. I got my PayPal account. I got a credit card. I got two.
I'm gonna pay with my fingernail, and then when I get done with that, I'm gonna use my foot.
I'm gonna pay with blood. But let's see. Covering 200 countries and 75 currencies, over 90,000 companies, as well as more than 150 million customers worldwide trust Payment Wall. So everybody in the world knows about this thing except for me. I'm the only guy still using PayPal, apparently.
And me. I use PayPal.
Payment Wall is PCI DSS Level 1 compliant. Thank goodness. The strictest level of security compliance to protect consumer data and also employs a risk team working 24/7 to prevent fraud before it happens. That's a neat trick. I think that guy's about to commit fraud. Arrest him. This is a quote from Manuel Prins, Payment Wall's strategic partnership manager. He says, being a big fan of racing simulations myself, we are very excited to partner with one of the most prestigious companies in the sector. True statement. iRacing's client will now benefit. There's just one of them.
Clients. There's an S.
That makes a lot of difference. iRacing's one. Well, for a period of time there, you logged into the site, said you were the only one racing. Maybe he logged in to check it out then. It's like, I don't know why you guys need our service. You got one dude. iRacing's clients will now benefit from an entirely localized checkout and can subscribe or make in-game purchases with the payment options they like. This isn't microtransactions, man. In-game purchases. I want a hat for my car. Oh. iRacers can already use Payment Wall to pay with credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, prepaid cards, PaySafe Card, EcoPays, Mint. Now they're just making up things. And over 100 gift cards for major brands including Apple, Starbucks, Walmart, Target, Subway, Burger King, and Circuit K. So I can pay for my iRacing subscription with my Starbucks card? Man, this thing is amazing! This is the best thing ever.
I'll take a cup of coffee and 1 month membership to iRacing.
I'd like a frappe mocha latte and a Renault 2.0, please.
Wow.
Oh, dear. Okay. So, anyway, I guess this is probably a good thing. I know they actually did have a international payment option a while ago that they got rid of. I can't recall the name of it off the top of my head. And I know people were disappointed in that because not everybody obviously uses credit cards or PayPal and stuff like that. So this does give more options for paying for things, including Starbucks cards and Burger King cards. I was going to get that Whopper, but I could get the Nürburgring instead. I guess you'd probably be able to get several Whoppers, actually, instead of... Maybe the big one, the Big King. That's got to cost at least $11.95, doesn't it? Give or take. But anyway. So, that covers Payment Wall and all of its services. So moving right along.
That'll release one more news item.
It does? Well, what's that?
Well, you know, our plans. Unless you want to save that for later.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, let's get that done.
Okay.
So, our original plan was, when we asked you guys to send in your sim rigs, was to somehow incorporate it into the show this week.
When we say send in your sim rigs, we mean by photo.
No. Give us your stuff. I specifically require 2 more 27-inch monitors and the triple monitor mount.
And why not just get 10 of them from people?
Well, then I can invite friends over if I have all these sim rigs. But
also, you have 10 friends, so
I could scrape something up, I'm sure. Yeah. Although speaking of which, actually, a relative new listener to the show, Brock Harvey, actually messaged me, and he had a cool idea for his next endurance rig or endurance race. Was he was actually asking me advice on how to set things up because he wants to go for the real experience. He actually wants to invite his 3 friends over to his house, set up the rig like in the garage and a bunch of cots, and everybody just actually sleep and jump in out of the car and for the full 24 hours, which I thought was a really cool idea. Of course, I told him if you all only use one account, then you know, there's rules around, you know, using other people's accounts, and if you had to switch accounts, you'd have to leave the car idle for a period of time. But the whole idea of just hanging out for 24 hours with your buddies, and you know, I thought that was a really cool idea.
But how would that work though? Because if you're using one computer and you have to log in and out of different accounts, you'd have to leave the sim.
Right, but because your account's still logged in, and this is where it got kind of confusing, and he was asking about it, and of course I'm not iRacing support, but I would imagine if you got out of the car...
You're not?
I don't know, the job posting's still open, but they haven't called yet, so...
This is stunning. I thought you were.
But anyway, if you were logged into the sim, and you parked the car for a driver exchange, you exited the sim, logged out of your account, somebody else logged into their account, if you're already registered as the team, you could jump in, and then the only problem is obviously your driver swap would take an extended period of time, so you'd be losing time as people are logging in and out of their accounts.
Well, I understand that, but that's why I was saying, you know, that you would lose a ton of time.
Yeah. Actually, I suggested if they could just bring like over a second, you know, rig, and that way you'd have one account, and then you could swap who was logged in so that the next person was ready, and you know, to save that time. But so anyway, the whole idea I thought was a really cool idea. You know, just kind of making a real experience out of it, kind of thing. So
yeah,
I thought that was kind of
if you're
cool.
just going to do it for fun.
Yeah, I mean, why not? You know, if you don't care, like I said, you lose an extra couple laps while you're logging in and out of the account, or you know, in and out of your account. And it wouldn't really matter because it wouldn't be at the very beginning. So, you know, the beginning, as long as you're logged in then, you know, the logging in and out in the middle of the night, this site's not going to be, you know, causing you problems and stuff like that. So, but anyway, I thought that was cool. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we asked you guys to send in information about your sim rigs. And you guys, and a trickle became a flow. It was all right, some people are sending stuff in. We're getting, you know, okay, we got enough to actually put together, you know, piece of a show, and everything's good. And then all of a sudden everybody went, oh no, the deadline's coming. Here's all the pictures and all the information. You guys did like great, and they're still coming in. So anyway, our plan was to incorporate it into the show somehow this week. But a couple factors have caused us to change our plans slightly. One, there's a ton of stuff to go through. Two, we really want to take the time to kind of put the spotlight on you guys. And as opposed to incorporating you guys into an extra long, normal show and just kind of shoving it in the middle, we thought it'd be a good idea to maybe give you guys kind of your own show, so to speak, in which we actually go through all the sim rigs and stuff like that. Because it only really plays well on video. It's not going to really play that well as part of the audio podcast. Now, so we're not going to do it this week, but we're also not going to do it next week. And I guess we'll get to that part now. There will be no show next week. And here's where we get to the part where, you know, I mentioned on Twitter, I teased, it's like, I'm going to tell you something. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. And it's going to dominate your mind as you watch the show from now on. And that's on a personal level. And that is the fact that...
You know, I still haven't noticed this.
See, but you look.
But I still haven't noticed it. Actually, I noticed it right there. I see it. I see it now. I
Okay.
know what you're talking about. I'm excited. You told me about this last week. Or the week before.
No, it was last week, I think it was. Anyway... as people who watch the video show may or may not have noticed, and now you will not be able to help but unnotice the fact, I actually have a problem with the muscles and stuff going on around my eyes. And my eyes don't actually open as much as they're supposed to. My left one in particular has a problem, and as I get further on in the day and I get more tired, it does it more and more often. See, told you. Now you're just looking at my eyes, aren't you? Staring at my... Whoa, he is lopsided. Oh, my God. But anyway, So it's not giving me a problem with my vision right now, but if I leave it, it will eventually. So I'm actually going in for surgery next week to get that fixed. So I guess at 43, I'm getting a facelift. Is that what's happening here? But
I'm
anyway.
not going to judge Trevor.
So anyway, I'm going in for surgery next Thursday, which is, of course, show record night. And I'm going to be off for about a week, they tell me, to recover, because apparently once they start cutting things going on up here, it's going to be all swollen and bruised and stuff like that. And I'm supposed to be resting for a week to kind of ease back into, work and stuff. So I'm going to be off work for a week. I'm going to be basically just resting, taking care of stuff like that. Which is the reason why I'm not going to be doing the Daytona 500, because staring at a screen for 4.5 hours, racing while recovering, probably not a good idea. Now, of course, I do have a boys' weekend coming up after my recovery period, so I'm going to immediately afterwards go and do, a bunch of staring at a screen for a bunch. But during the actual Daytona time, I'm not going to really have a chance to do that. But anyway, so we won't have a show next week because I'm going to be off recovering after my surgery. So what we decided to do is, since I'm going to be off work anyway, we're going to take all of you guys' pictures and stats and stuff like that, and I'm going to put together a slideshow of sorts. And we're going to do the following week, we're going to have our regular show, and I'm not sure what we're going to do for the timing, if we're going to do them both the same night, if we're going to do one night, one the other night. I'll be off work, so because I'm actually going to be off for like a week and a half because of the way everything works out. So the week after that, we're going to do 2 shows for you guys, and the timing will be a bit easier going because I'm not working, so it'll be easier. And Chad's 2 hours ahead of me. So we're going to do a regular show. 131 will be just normal old show here, and then we're going to do a 131.5, which is just going to be a video portion, and we're going to basically go through all of the stuff you guys sent in, show it off, talk a bit about the stats, and what you guys are using for your sim racing and stuff. So no show next week, but the following week you'll get a normal audio version show, and you will get a video version show, which will just be the sim cockpit version. So 131.5, if you will. So, and then I might just mash the video portions of the two together. I don't know. But there won't be an audio version of that because it'll be us saying, hey, so if you look here, and you'll be all like, that's it, I'm out. So...
It's like, look here, all I see is I'm driving down the interstate. So,
it's like, I don't know.
okay. I don't see anything.
So, anyway, and whether or not we go on video for, like, when we do the video portion of the sim racing stuff, it won't have our faces. It'll have your guys' stuff. Like I said, we're going to turn the spotlight on you guys. Whether or not we have a video version for show 131 proper, well, we'll just see how Trevor feels and what his face looks like and whether or not he feels like being on a camera or not at that point in time. Trevor might be all bruised and, maybe I'll just wear sunglasses on. I don't know. Maybe I'll be fine in a few days. I don't know.
Wear sunglasses. I'll wear sunglasses, and then it will be a matching pair.
Yes, I won't feel... It's like, so Trevor won't feel self-conscious,
Yes. We don't want Trevor feeling self-conscious.
Well, I already feel self-conscious, and that's the thing. See, I didn't even realize that I had this thing. It's because we do this show that I was actually just looking back through old shows one time. Like, this is months ago now when I went to see the surgeon and the doctor and all that stuff. And I looked at it, it's like, what is going on with my eyes? And I look at like the week before that. It's like, well, maybe something happened or whatever. And look at the week before that. It's like, no. The week before, no. It's like, why does my left eye always look like it's half closed? So I started going to the doctors and saying, hey, this has been going on for months. I didn't realize it, but I look back at myself on my YouTube videos, and I kind of look like I'm half asleep on half my face. So I went to the doctor to make sure I wasn't having like the world's longest stroke. Which I wasn't. But, well, I don't know. It was the left side of my face. What do they always tell you?
I just like that. I know, I understand, but I just like the way you explain that. You're like, so Doc, here's the thing. I was watching some YouTube videos myself.
And I realized.
Really famous, just in case you haven't heard before.
I'm kind of a big deal.
I mean, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing on the YouTube. But here's the thing. My eye's a little bit crazy. I was wondering if you could make me look prettier.
Oh, but, and the best part about this whole operation, and we're like a week away now, is the fact that most people as far as I know, everybody has a kind of phobia or a kind of thing about a part, about people being near part of their body. Some people don't like being, poked near the nose or the ears or whatever it may be. My thing
Don't
is
touch my feet or something like that.
yeah, my thing is my eyes. I get really creeped out when anybody gets anywhere near my eyes. And like I cannot get eye drops. Like anytime I go in to get my eyes checked and stuff, like the nurse literally has to pry my eyelid open to put the eye drop in to dilate my eye because I physically cannot open it when I know the eye drop. Like eye things creep me out. And here's the best part: when I talked to the surgeon about this, it's like, okay, well, you're going to do that. That's great. You better knock me the heck out because this is not going to go well otherwise. And he says, no, because the way we have to check the way the muscles are going and everything and gravity's affecting your face, you have to be seated up for this operation. So you can't be knocked out. It's like, oh, that's awesome. He says, we're going to give you some stuff to help you relax. It's like, man, you better give me. I better be the most relaxed I've ever been in my entire life, or else you're going to come at me with that scalpel, and I'm going to be running out the front door of your office. IV's hanging off me. I won't have my coat. I'll just be running out the door. So,
Peace.
yeah, peace. I'm out. You go mess with somebody else's eyeballs, man, because you can't get anywhere near mine. So, I guess on the other side, I guess it would be, maybe that would be the great time to do the show for the week. Maybe we should do a show next week. Here's Trevor hopped up onto goofballs. You thought I was silly before. Well, if they give me something relaxed enough they can poke around my eyeballs and not freak me out, Trevor's going to be entertaining if he's not sleeping. But anyway, so that's what's going on with me. So hopefully, and then of course, see, now you can't unsee it because now you're just looking at my eye, and then I'm going to come back in a couple weeks and you're going to be just looking at my eyes like, man, he looks so awake. I'll come back and be all like this. Hey guys, so it's been a great show. I missed you guys last week.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm having a very good time. But anyway, so that's what's going on. So the show part of all of this is no show next week. Week after that, we're going to have the regular show 131 and then 131.5. Showing off all your guys' sim rig stuff, and if you haven't sent it in yet, you still got time. Make sure you send it in, say, by early next week, just so we'll have enough time to put all the stuff together. Like I said, I'm going to be off work, so my plan is kind of to, early, mid next week, because I'm going to be off from Thursday on kind of thing. So my plan is to sit down while I'm off work, as long as I can see, and my eyes aren't all looking like they got stung by the bumblebees, and I can see what I'm doing, put that whole thing together for the following week.
So no show on February 11th, and maybe by then send in your pictures by the 11th?
Yeah, let's call it the 11th.
Okay, and then potentially 18th is when we might record again.
Mm-hmm.
And so there you go.
Yep. Because it'll have to be the Thursday because we won't be able to do a Friday show that week. But like I said, I'll be off work, so as soon as Chad gets home from work, we're good to go. So I won't care.
No. Okay. So you've been talking for a while, so I'm going to take back over.
Excellent.
I do not have any on-track experiences this week. So I figured what I would do is, instead of talking about me driving a race car, I would talk about the app.ini file. We would pick that segment up and then drop it, because I'm going to cover the rest of the file. So if you've been entertained by this or are curious about this in any way, shape, or form, pen and paper out, eyes to the board. We will begin. Class is in session. There are a few things that I'm going to mention. And then there's some things I'm going to skip, so kind of figure them out on your own, and if you have questions, feel free to ask us, like Trevor mentioned last week. But there are quite a few things that I wanted to bring up, especially one thing in particular, which I showed Trevor before we went live.
He made me. He's like, we should do the show now. He says, no, take a look at this so you know what I'm talking about. Like, okay.
Yes. but I wanted someone to back me up. So, they do have a section in the app.ini file for external displays. So if you use something like the Logitech ARX, there are 4 settings in there where you can make some adjustments. One is where you can enable it, the client that is, to be on your digital dash on your smartphone. The bottom one in this section cracks me up and also scares me. It says phone can steer equals 0, which is off. 1 would be on. And the little description says allow phone device to act as a steering wheel. Oh my lord. No.
Yeah, here we go. Look at me. I'm racing.
It's like iRacing mobile. Please don't come around me with that feature turned on. Force feedback is the next section.
I was going to say, for the love of Pete, don't use an Xbox controller. But if your choice is phone or Xbox controller, pick up the controller.
Yes. Force feedback would be the next thing. Of course, that is, there's a lot going on in the force feedback section. And each of these have a description, so they give you a little bit of information about what they do or don't do. Typically, you will find with these settings that 0 is off and 1 is on, just for the record. It is funny, there is a setting in here, speaking of controllers, for the Xbox 360 triggers. If you set to 1, you will separate the Xbox 360 joystick triggers into their own axis.
Oh.
So, if you're using a 360 controller, there you go. They also have some bump stop degree, damping factor, damping max percentage, damping parked max percentage, and force feedback smooth and forced park percentage settings. In here, I know a lot of that probably didn't make any sense to you, but the bump stop degree, degrees into bump stop before max force on your wheel.
Before
I believe
max force. Got it.
I do not know what the default is, but I have mine set to 15. Now, I'm also using a Logitech Driving Force GT. So for those of you that has a Thrustmaster, that probably won't work very well. The damping factor adjusts down if damping becomes unstable. The default to that is 0.05. I have mine set to 0.100000. Let's see. Damping max percentage, maximum amount of damping to apply. Adjust this to set the damping level between 0.05 and 0.2 are best, overridden by the damping slider in the sim. So, and then they've got one where you're also parked, and you can adjust it. Well, let's see, to reduced wheel oscillation when parked. Values are between 0.05 and 0.30 are best. The percentage of current force feedback force to use versus average force on the force feedback smooth setting. And 1.0 equal no average, 0.001 equals max. I have mine set to 1. I've never messed with that. Not entirely sure what it does. And the next section is graphics. There are some more things in the force feedback, as I mentioned, but I don't totally understand them, so I'm not going to tell you one way and then it'd be another.
I'm not going to tell you how to use it because I don't know.
The graphics setting, window border. This is a new feature that came out in, well, I say feature, but it's a new setting that came out in the last build, I believe, in December, if I'm not mistaken. If it wasn't in that one, then it would have been the one before it. And basically, if you run iRacing in Windows mode, which I believe used to be suggested to help frame rates, but I think now it is more of a suggested deal to run in full screen mode, if you can. I don't know that. Try and see what works best.
See, and I've never understood that. Like, 'cause a lot of people wear, be it iRacing or other games, it's always in a windowed, like just a window the same size as their screen. Like, I've never run anything other than full screen. Like I don't know why you would, or if there's an advantage to it, and whatnot, or a borderless window or whatever. But
I think that there be an advantage in running window mode if you were a streamer. because I think it did help your frames a little bit.
Well, and yeah, I mean that's the one time I did iRacing was either streaming or broadcasting, so I could easily switch between windows and
Yeah.
stuff, so I could look at different things. But
Yes. But now you can turn off the border. So basically, if you do run that, you might be seeing the Windows border, which obviously kind of makes iRacing look a little ugly. But now you can remove that. So 0 would be off. And I believe that might be the no, I don't think actually it is. I think the default is that it's on. But you can turn that off. That is a setting you can do actually in the iRacing, but it is also in here. Let's see. If you have the triple screens, like apparently most of you do, based on your pictures.
no kidding, man. I feel inadequate with my one. I mean, it's a very nice monitor, 27 inches.
Yes.
It's a great monitor, but man, you guys all got triples.
Yeah. So if you happen to have triples, there is a Drive UI full screen setting, which basically so basically when you're in the car and you have like your black box and then your little FPX, I don't know where I got the X from, FPS, and like your virtual mirror and all those things. For those of you that don't know, maybe new to the sim, the default for this is Alt K. You can actually move all those things around the screen. Now, by default, you're only allowed to move them on the center monitor because most people probably only have one monitor. But if you have triple screens, this setting, the Drive UI full screen setting, allows you to move to triple-headed driving UI to where you can expand it and fill up the full display. So you could move your little black box thing way off to the far right monitor or way off to the far left monitor or, wherever.
That's cool.
So it comes in handy if you have triple screens. And I have used the heck out of this because I've moved those things all over the place and barely have anything on my center screen. Most of those are like way off out of my peripheral vision to where I can't really see them. There's also a Drive UI transparency, which is useful for people with triple screens or not, if you have a single screen. And basically, obviously, you can change the transparency of those things. So you make them solid or a little bit more faded into the background. Another one is, let's see here. Let's see, they've got some settings for your full screen stuff in here. Let's see. There is an option, which is also, I believe, in iRacing settings, but I won't mention it here because it's in the app file, where you can actually hide your car numbers and the other decals that you have on your car in test sessions so that you can paint your own versions of your car and not have the number being stamped over top of it, so you can line up things and things of that nature. There's another one that I just recently changed that may be useful to some of you, I don't know. But you can keep the UI hidden when you are not on your not driving the car and you're just watching, for example, like saying that I'm watching Trevor Driver on the racetrack, and you've got the two white bars going across the screen that have like the all the replay buttons and everything. Mm-hmm. You can actually change when that is hidden, how you bring it back into focus. So by default, you can click, or you can do the spacebar.
Right.
Spacebar makes it disappear. You can bring it back with spacebar, or you can click and bring it back. If you set this setting to 1, it will only be allowed to come back with a spacebar click and not a mouse click. So if you're doing like broadcasting and you're trying to click on things and you accidentally clicked on the sim, that could be handy because then you wouldn't have your UI pop up suddenly and like, oh no, I don't want that on the stream, because you would have to push your spacebar. So I changed that one, not for really any reason, but just because I likes it. Let's see. There's also the UI itself, the white bars I was telling you about just a minute ago. You can also make that full screen to where it will go across all triple screen monitors. So if you don't have that set, it will only be in the center. and the left and the right monitor won't have the two white bars going across when you're watching Trevor drive around in his car. It would just be a screen with whatever's on the track showing up.
Hmm.
I personally have turned this on to where my white bars go all the way across,
Why
just
would,
because.
what? Yeah. So why would you want that? I would think that you'd
Well,
less
because
screen clutter.
you get more room with moving things around.
Hmm.
But yes, I guess you would have less screen clutter if you turned them off. You can also change the transparency so it makes it a little bit more faded in the background. I've not played with that, but you know what? I might actually play with that and make that fade a little bit more. I might change that right now.
Well, why don't you wait until after the show? I mean,
So, next one, let's see, I'm going to skip a couple of these things because they're not all that important. We talked about that. Another one that's kind of fancy, there is an overlay ticker that shows up at the top of your screen, and you have to turn off the UI, the two white bars going across. So you'd have to hit the space bar in order to see it. But it is a ticker, and it does show the current standings for the race or in a replay. I have mine turned off because I never really use it, but some of you might find it useful, especially if you do highlight videos. It just it updates per lap, and it shows who's running where. It's nothing fancy. I
No.
kind of wish they would make it more fancy, but it's there if you want it. There's also a pit service box where you can change the auto reset pit box. So those of you that have played iRacing know that as soon as you leave pit road, or at least your pit box, but I think it's pit road, that your tires and your fuel will automatically reset to, yes, I want all 4 tires changed, and yes, I want a full tank of fuel. Well, there's a setting in the app file that you can actually change it to where it will not automatically request full pit service on your next pit stop, and it is once your vehicle exits pit road. So this auto reset pit box by default is 1, but if you didn't want it to do that and you want it to be your own manual strategist on the pit road stuff, set it to 0 and it will never automatically go back to a full service. It'll be what you make it. Every time.
well, that's pretty cool. I didn't actually know that was an option there because there's been a lot of times when you don't want that to happen when you're planning your pit strategies, or if you just come out of the pits and you've sped and you need to come back for a penalty or whatever the case may be. I didn't realize you could actually change this. It wouldn't turn that on. That's a cool one. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. In the app file. Under pit service. There's a replay section which allows you to change some things for replays. I think most of this is actually in the sim itself, so I don't know that I will cover it, but it is there if you want to look at it. There's some spooling, editing, and things like that, and there's some settings you can change with the spool replay stuff. The next section, if most of you may not have as many as I have, but there is a section for setup auto load. Again, 1 is on, 0 off. So every car would have this where you can automatically load a setup, and what that will do is iRacing will try to load the setup at the track that you are at. So if you load up the Nürburgring, it'll say, hey, I have one of these setups for the track that you're at. Here you go. And it'll automatically load it. For some reason, though, it always resets mine on the stock cars, like the Toyota Camry. But that might be because I have run a few fix setup leagues, so maybe it turns it off by default. But all the other ones are turned on. Directly below that is your spotter pack, which is under SPCC. So this one is important. I'm just going to give you guys my settings exactly how I have them. If you want to run them, go for it. Car low high padding. We mentioned this one a long time ago, but basically it's how much clearance front and back of your car in meters to give before the spotter will report you as clear. So basically, if Trevor's trying to pass me, when do I want to know that I'm actually clear?
Right.
I have mine set to 0.200000, which I can't remember what that translated to in feet, but it was either right at or just below a foot, I think. So I mean, it was like pretty much instantly is when I want to be notified. I think the default for this is 0.25, if I'm not mistaken. Um, the next one is spotter enabled at all. I obviously had that set to 1, which is on. The next one is report laps enabled, where the spotter will call out lap times. I had that set to 1 because I like to hear my lap times, because sometimes things are a little crazy and I can't check the F1 box and see what I ran, so I like to listen for it.
Is there a place actually in the sim to change that on? I don't remember the lap times. So I
I
know some of you
believe
guys
so.
actually do use that, because I've heard, I think I know you do it. I think Roy does it. Some other people that I've heard. So I was just curious if you could actually turn that on in the sim, because I don't think that's actually a setting in there.
I can't remember at this moment. I think it is, but I don't know. Right below it is report laps minute. So it will call out the minute when calling the time. I have mine set to 0. I do not care about knowing the minute, because generally I know, like if it's a track where you're going to run at least a minute or 6 minutes, like at the Nürburgring, I pretty much know that, so I don't really need to know. I know my general lap times. The next one is report laps mode underscore in. So basically, the spotter calls out lap times. 0 means he calls out a time. 1 means he would call out your average speed. I have 0 because I want my lap times. I don't really care about my average speed, and I have no idea how to translate that into lap times on the fly. Too much thinking power. The next one is report laps precision. How much precision to display lap times with. Mine is set to 2. And I'll be honest, I don't exactly. Oh, let's see. I know what that was now. I was going to say I don't remember what it is, but I might know what that is.
What, the precision?
Yes.
That should be how many points after the decimal point that it actually reports the lap at, is my guess.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me of that. I was trying to think of what it was. I set mine to 2 because I don't need to know all the extra information. The 2, in my opinion, like for example, if I'm racing Bristol and you go around Bristol in 15.6125 seconds, I really only need to know the 0.61,
Right.
because I pretty much know I'm going to be running 15 seconds. I don't need the 2530 at the end. I just need to know the 61. So yes, thank you for reminding me of that. I knew it was something important. The next one is text. Does the spotter display text messages while also talking? I have that set to 0 because I do not need that distraction.
Yeah, and actually, I didn't know. Like, I have my app INI file open right now, and as I'm reading along with what you're doing, it's like you can change. I literally just changed that to 0 right now. It's like, man, I didn't know I could turn that off because that was useless.
Yes.
It's not like I'm all like,
I
what did he say? I don't know. Let me look here. Oh, he said that I'm clear on. There's a
Oh,
car
dear
on the
Christ.
left.
Yes. Topic mask. I don't know what that is.
No, because there's
Mine's
no
a 0.
comment on it. It's like
No
0.
comment.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is how chatty. I said chatty, but how chatty is the spotter? So how much verbally does he do? And I believe 2 is the highest, so he's like really talkative. I have mine set to 2. Voice, does the spotter talk to you?
Yeah.
Which I don't understand.
Voice equals 1. In the comment, does the spotter talk to you? It's like,
Yes.
so you change it if he's mad at you? Just, so I'm not talking to you.
Talk to me.
I'm talking at you because it's my job, but I'm not talking to you.
Yes. And that is the last one is you can name manually which spotter pack that you're using. You can also do that in the sim though, and there's another setting in the sim that is not mentioned in the app file that I will mention here while we're talking about the spotter pack, where you can actually set up a button, or 2 buttons rather, to make the spotter pack louder and quieter when he is talking. That is in the sim and not
Yeah.
in the app file.
Yeah. So,
The next thing is split deltas. Just throwing that out there. You can change some things about the way the delta bar is displayed, and the ghost car is the transparency and all that. How many seconds to offset the ghost car by? Play on that with your own. The next 2 things, tilt drive and touch drive, I'm not touching because I know nothing about them. But if you have a touchscreen, go for it. The next section is where your UI offset would be. So that's where if you've moved all of like your black boxes in your virtual mirror, if you moved all that, it's going to save the positions, X, Y, and all that stuff in that setting. So just ignore all that if you have that. The last section that I will mention is the one that I made Trevor do. And I think it is probably the coolest part of the app.ini file hidden features section. Anyways, and there are a few things in here. So number one, this is where you can change your look left and look right settings, which is, excuse me, standard. And you can do all of that in iRacing, but this is where they're saved in the app file. So you have like the look angle, how far to the left or to the right do you look. Many of you may not know that you can change that. You can actually change it to where you can almost look all the way around.
I was going to say, now that I know you could change that, like, just change it to, like, 179 degrees and you become like an owl, what? It's like, I'm going to look left, see if, am I clear left? I don't know, but there's somebody following us.
Yeah. So that's there you can play with that. There's also a dead zone. 0 is no dead zone. I have mine set to 0. I don't, well, actually, let me change this. My look angle is at 65. Now I have triple screens, and what that does with my 327-inch monitors, that puts me when you hit the look left button, and I do use this occasionally for the record, even though I have triples. That makes you look left if you're on the driver's side left of a car, like at the edge of the seat. So basically, if you turned your head left, it would be natural. I'm probably going to sound lower on that part of the podcast, sorry. But if you turned your head to the left, it would be realistic. That's kind of what I did with it. And same thing if you looked right. Dead zone, I have 0. The cockpit down angle, which I believe Trevor and I talked about this one day. We use on the gear shifter when you used to have the steering wheel for the Driving Force GT, the little clicky shifter that is on the GFGT. The look down angle is where you can take the head of the sim driver who's in your cockpit of your sim car and look down. So if, for example, your field of view blocks out your gauges and you don't have any kind of Z1 dashboard or anything, this can come in big time handy because you can look down at them on the straightaway, I recommend, and check out what your gauges are.
Right.
I have mine set to 20.0. That's as far as it go. That's the same kind of thing, though. You can make it go way down or way up. But
so you're driving down the straightaway. It's like, did I remember to put on pants today? I have no legs. All I have is arms. What's happening?
Yes, that would be interesting. Now, the next one is the one that I have set up, which is Cockpit Look Instant. So basically, you instantly look to the left or to the right instead of it going very slowly to the left or to the right when you click your left or right button. I have that set on because I do not have time for transitionally smoothly to the left to look what's over here, and then transitionally smoothly to look to the right to see what's over here. I need things to be bang, bang. So I have that on.
Shut up. I know what I'm doing. I know how to look left.
I do not have time to take 15 seconds to look to the left. I need to do it in 1 second. Thank you. And then there is the cockpit look up angle, which I only have set to 15. So that's the same thing as the look down angle, except up. But mine's different. I had 20 for down and 15 for up. Not sure why that's different. But anyways, that's what I have.
That's what I have too. So I'm pretty sure those are the defaults. So.
Yeah. Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
look up in case you want to see the clouds. That one looks like a bunny. Yeah.
Wait, are you seeing bunnies again? Are you exhausted, Trevor?
I don't know. Can't you see my eye, man?
And last but not least, really cool feature that I found out about 3 or 4 years ago, and Trevor just now tested out, and I believe I'm confident in the fact he will back me up that it's cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Once you show me what at first it was, I kind of looked at what, because he showed me a video of his where it was doing it, and it's like, well, isn't that what it always does? And they said,
No.
nope. So it's like, all right. He said, take the car out in the track. It's like, okay. It's like, oh, you're right. That is different. Now it feels weird. now that I've seen yours, mine looks strange. Is what I basically came away with.
Yeah. So basically, what this is iRacing has added in a driver head horizon, a driver head no pitch, a driver head wobble, and a driver head, or excuse me, a driver rotate head.
That's my head wobbling.
It's your own personal bobblehead. Um, and those four settings, the horizon, no pitch, wobble, and rotate head, are very key in what we're going to say here. And what they do is, by default, they're set to 0, except for the wobble one, which apparently by default is set to 1.0000000.
Correct.
These settings. So right now, if you have that, if you have all these set up as 0, except for the wobble at 1, when you go into the turn, like we'll use Daytona because it's got a lot of banking. When you go into the turn, your screen, whether you have triples or just one monitor, your screen will stay stationary and will not rotate to the banking. So those of you on video, my hands are going straight, you're flat, and then you rotate, to the 36-degree banking or whatever it is at Daytona. That does not happen. These settings make that happen, and they are way cool. So for the driver head horizon, percent to allow the driver's head to stay level with the horizon when the car tilts. The driver head no pitch keeps the driver's head staying level when the horizon of the car pitches. And the driver head wobble is when you're going over bumps, so like at Kentucky, bump, 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 for example. And rotate head is to rotate the driver's head with the slip angle. So basically when you spin out, I guess. Was 0 to 1 is the setting on that one, with 1 being 100%, which means you're going to be like, whoa!
Yes, exactly that. And you have to make that noise. And your spotter, if it's set to 1, will make that noise as well, unless he's not talking to you.
Unless he's mad at you. Put spotter in timeout. So here are the settings to kind of get you started. And I think you can adjust these a little bit if you want. I know that the ones I have were what somebody specifically recommended. And they're what I'm using. So for driver head horizon, 0.5, or well, 0.50.
Yeah.
0.50, and everything else is zeros. For the no pitch, 0.5, 0.0000. Head wobble, I already mentioned, 1.0s after that. And then the rotate head, I have mine, and this is the one where you play with it, but you play with it. Don't go overboard on this one because it is crazy. I've tried, and it will be kind of like what I described, where you're kind of like, whoa. But I have mine set to 0.080000. So that shows it, but it's minimal. I have been tempted recently to change mine to 0.10. I don't know if I'll do that. It's not that much of a big increase, so it might not affect. But in all honesty, this is seriously, I've been running with this for like 4 years, and I still remember the day that I first tried it, where your car like does not rotate to the degree of banking, and then suddenly you make these changes, and of course you have to save your file and then go into the sim, and suddenly your car tilts with whatever banking. And it is seriously another cool feature that is hidden, that is added on to the sim. So what did you think about it?
Yeah, because I didn't even realize it. Like it had, my brain hadn't registered that, because obviously you go in and the track tilts, as you're going into the banking, so it just kind of felt normal and whatnot. But it hadn't actually registered in my head that basically your dashboard, your car, stays like flat. So it's almost like the car is not connected to the track, is what it kind of looks like now that I've seen it the other way, as opposed to, the actual dashboard and everything is rolling along with the car as it actually would. So, I took it for a couple laps around Daytona, and like the difference Now, will it make me a better racer when it comes to high banks or anything? Probably not. I mean, it might give me a better, awareness of my surroundings or make me feel more attached to the track. I mean, you had mentioned it didn't feel like the car was floating, I think you said.
Yeah, well, if like when you're stationary, or like you said, flat is a good word for it, you feel like almost like you're above the track. Whereas with these settings, I feel like you're more down in the track, like you should be. That's kind of the best way I can explain it. Now, I'm not saying that these are like the world's most realistic settings, but it's at least something that helps kind of add in that realism in a way.
Yeah,
So
and I'm kind of curious how it's going to go with like on some of my road racing with the IndyCar, for instance. I mean, the difference will be subtle, but when I'm going over some of the the curbs or some of the road courses actually do have some banking and stuff to them and stuff. So I'm kind of curious how it'll make it feel when it's more subtle, because obviously we went to an extreme example with Daytona where so you could really see the effect, but I'm kind of curious now how it's going to feel on a more subtle basis, if it'll just kind of make me feel a little bit more into the track, so to speak.
And I think it will. Now, one thing that I will throw out as a precaution, just because it could happen, if you are someone that kind of gets a little bit of motion sickness, be leery with these. Just as a precaution. I'm not saying you're going to start throwing up all over the place, but it might be a little weird at first. I've gotten used to it, so it never bothered me, and it didn't seem to bother Trevor earlier.
No.
Although he was fake barfing, but I have noticed, like at tracks like Bristol, tracks like Daytona, you seem to be like Bristol is probably the first track where I was like, whoa, because like you're going around the turns so quick. I mean, you guys know that I've raced Bristol. It's very quick turns, but they're very steep turns, and so you're kind of like. And for those of you watching or not watching video, that won't make any sense. But
for those of you who do not watch the video, and you're just listening to the audio, make a note of the timestamp and go watch the video, because watching Chad do his Bristol imitation is worth coming to YouTube for.
1:26:44 is your timestamp. So, anyways, that was the really cool one that I wanted to mention, and that is the app file, basically in a nutshell. I left out a few things, but that's just probably because I don't know what the heck they do.
Yep. Or there's stuff like tilt driving. No.
Yeah.
Don't.
No.
Bad.
No. Sit in the corner.
Not even once. Tilt driving, not even once. So.
And by the way,
yes.
Last little disclaimer that I would throw in. If you don't want to go back and listen to those settings again, feel free to email me and I will send them to you so that you have a email copy of them and know exactly what to do. So yeah, just want to throw that out there.
All right. Now, a couple more things to cover before we let you people go for a short little hiatus of a couple weeks here. One is, well, actually, let's just go right into a listener of the show actually sent in a pretty detailed description of their Daytona 24 experience, and we just wanted to get to that. And that is, and I know I said it right once, and he told me I said it right, and now I can't remember what I said. I'm going to go with Huso? Hatali? Huso? I think I got it right. Anyway, he sent in his experience with the 24, a nice little detailed, I'm not going to read it word for word, obviously, but a lot of good, some interesting stuff in here, especially when you get to the second paragraph. I really like that. But anyway, Huso says they were driving the DP, and it was a cooperative effort between two Finnish teams, Glacier Racing, which I've heard a bunch about on the forums, and Black Star Racing. Three guys from both teams. They drove under the Glacier Racing name since it's more more known and has a prettier DP paint. Seems like a fair reason to do so for me. They were in the first split. That's key here. They were in the first split, number one. They started from 14th place, and they rose quickly up to 5th place in the first couple of hours. Then they got caught up in a wreck on the oval part before the bus stop, which is That's a crappy place to get caught in a wreck because you have high speed going, and a place where you should never get into a wreck. Like the NASCAR parts of the Daytona road course should be the safest places to be. That's your time to kind of let your guard down and relax for a minute. But apparently they managed to get caught up in a wreck that happened there. He says the car would still move, but the nose was missing completely. I know we went through a few noses on our GP during the race. Now here's my favorite part. Our driver drove it back to the pits and quit, thinking the race was over. It's like, well, I ruined, and this is a couple hours in. It's like, well, our day's done. Later, and he just hops out of the car, hops over the pit wall, goes back to his trailer, and goes to sleep.
I'm gonna hit up the golf course.
However, the pit crew immediately installed a new nose clip. So our next driver hopped in the car, and it was still drivable. However, we were now in second to last place in the prototype class, and the car was over a half-second off pace. So obviously there was some further damage rather than just the cosmetic on the nose. Well, cosmetic / aero on the nose. We decided to keep driving, but did not expect much. The next incident happened 3 to 4 hours after the first one. We were approaching the start-finish line, and there was a lapped DP next to the outside wall letting people past. However, they needed to pit and decided to do so right in front of us. It's like, go on by, everything, no, I'm off speed, go on by, go on by. Oh, wait, the pit lane, yay!
Turn left now.
Get that old GPS going. Turn left now! So he
You
says,
don't have cut rate insurance.
they broke and came right down in front of us. Our driver could barely see them before he drove into the back of them. Luckily, the hit only damaged our left front corner a bit, and we were able to keep on driving. Sounds like a pretty standard 24-hour race so far. People just keep smashing into your car for no reason. The night, for us, being Finnish, was quite uneventful, but when I woke up for my stint, 6 a.m. local, 4 a.m. GMT, they were in 10th place. During the last couple of hours, we climbed to 8th and started chasing the guy in 7th place down. After the last pit stop rotations, the gap between us and 7th place was under 10 seconds. We had new tires. They did not. Our driver caught up to them with 10 minutes to go, and then, as he puts it, this happened. Which it was a broadcast race because he was in the first split. So he gives me a YouTube link to what happened. But basically, what happened was the 7th place car got loose on the first corner and bumped us in the process. I actually went and watched that, and they were right behind him, right with them. They got loose and then just whacked into the side of them basically as they lost control going into turn 1. The crash got us the meatball flag because of the DP bug. He says, which was cleared immediately with no repair time after we entered the pit box. So hopefully that is fixed soon, because man, that was annoying for us in the race. Let me tell you, the number we had so many meatball flags in our race because it's like, oh wait, you hit a blade of grass, bring her in. We got to fix something. Oh, my mistake. I was looking at it wrong. Everything's fine. Go. Luckily, the previously 7th place car had the meatball as well. And the 9th place car was so far behind us that they weren't able to overtake, so they finished the race in 7th place, which felt pretty darn good, he says. So,
and in the top split, too.
Yeah, no kidding. 7th place in the top split. Like, man, that's pretty dang awesome. So, so well done, Husso. And hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. If not, well, I'm sorry. But I'm half blind in one eye now, so, I mean, yeah, that's going to be my excuse for everything now.
No, you can't use that as an excuse.
Why not?
Because you wanted people to feel sorry for you earlier, and now you're just going to use it. You're using your, whatever you want to call that, to your
my medical affliction.
Sure. So then people won't feel sorry for it. We'll just make fun of you.
Fair enough. Can I blame the fact that this morning I literally walked into a door? Does that play into it at all?
Does that go along with your fight with the light switch?
See, I find a new and interesting way to injure myself. I was opening up, our garbage can is in a little pantry type thing, and I had my boots on, which I wasn't anticipating, which have some height to them, and the door is not all the way off the ground, but if I'm just in my sock feet, the door goes over my foot, no problem. But I stepped in front of it, had my boot on, and as I'm opening the door, I'm proceeding into the area with the garbage can to put something in the garbage. It hits my boot, bounces back closed, and I walked into it. So it just kind of, ba-bong, like, and my wife was standing right behind me. I just kind of casually turned around, looked at her, and said, Did I just do that? Did I literally just bash the door into my own face? She says, yeah, you did. It's like, okay.
Nice.
Oh.
I think I need to get a new co-host.
I'm accident prone, apparently. You know,
Apparently.
I'm the Tony Stewart of this podcast, apparently. You know, I can't go into an area without injuring myself in some serious fashion. Poor Tony. I'm going to go have some fun. Uh-oh. Now I missed the season opener. Man, that sucks for him, though. But anyway, we won't get into that. That's, you know, his last season, and he's missing his last Daytona 500. Well, probably last Daytona 500. But anyway. So, back to our two last things to cover. My on-track experiences, and then the poll question, and then we'll let you guys go here. I always sound like they're hostages. We'll let you go when we're ready. When we're done talking, you can go home then. Until then, you sit there, you listen to our stories.
And next week, you come back here, we're going to tie you up with rope, and you're going to listen to this show until we let you go home then.
Yeah, and the worst part is, next week, there's no show. So you just sit there. You sit there, you look at my Twitch channel for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, then you can leave.
Well, it says offline.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen, but I'll be watching. I'll be looking, and if you're not there. But anyway, last week, I was out there at Texas in the Winter Series, attempting to get my season back on track after 2 disastrous weeks at Milwaukee and Mid-Ohio. It's funny, I actually looked at my Milwaukee finish, because now the drop weeks are being incorporated in. It's like, man, I didn't even finish that race. It's like, man, I bet you that was my drop week. I looked at it, it's like, dropped, when you look at the individual weeks, it'll actually tell you whether or not it was a drop week or not. And it says dropped, no. It's like, what do you mean no? I had something worse than that? It's like, so I looked at the Mid-Ohio one. It's like, oh, that was worse, and I even finished that race. Apparently I didn't need to bother. But anyway, the last 2 weeks were horrible for me, so I was hoping to get back on track and get things going in the right direction again once I hit Texas, and I am proud to report that, yes, things actually went quite well there, despite
Was
some
David
issues.
available at this race?
I don't know. I looked for him. I thought it might help. I said, if only David Ankeny was available, then that would help me out. But he wasn't.
Read the Twitch.
Read the Twitch. Broadcast your surgery on Twitch. Yes, next week, it is Thursday. Excuse me, doctor, you don't mind. I've got my laptop, my webcam here, and this microphone. If you don't want your face on camera, then if you could just put this paper bag over your face, just make sure you get eye holes so you can see what you're doing. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay, back to Texas.
You know what? In today's day and age, it would not surprise me he said, I mean, they make a reality show out of everything. I don't know. Oh. Hey, that is me. I'm here to help. Is that David?
Yes, it is.
We're making fun of you, David. Just in case you just tuned in. Just to make sure you know what the score is. But we're done with that now. So anyway, back to Texas. I had raced around, and in all the practice sessions that I had practiced in, the weather was normal. It was a nice, a reasonable temperature. It was in the 90s. I think I even did one practice in the 80s, track temperature. But, they're mostly in the 90s, had all kinds of grip. Everything was great. I was comfortable around cars. I was comfortable by myself. Everything was wonderful. Practiced up. We're going to do this. I got into the race server, and between the cloudy, half the track was in shade practice server I had just gotten out of, apparently somebody went and got a big old bowl of lava and poured it all over the track. Because the track temperature was like 119 degrees or something stupid like that. And man, you want to talk about no traction. Holy crap. So that race started, I didn't end up qualifying. Although if I had, I would have been at the end of the field anyway, because my times when I was practicing for that were not even no. So I started at the back of the field. We had actually gone through a split, so there was only 14 cars in that split. I had started in... Oh, wait. I'm full of crap. I actually did qualify. I wasn't going to qualify, and then I decided to qualify. Sorry, I was thinking about Mid-Ohio. I can't remember. I can't let go of Mid-Ohio, man.
See, we're back to the politician thing where you're lying.
Yeah, see. I actually did qualify for that one, and my qualifying time was nowhere real near the actual pole sitter because I was a bit off. But anyway, so I did qualify. I was like 4/10 off the pole. Started in 6th position out of 14 cars in car number 7, so about halfway in the iRating. Our strength of field was only 1,070, so I was actually bringing the strength of field up. So that says something. But anyway, real tentative on the first few laps. There was... we ended up with 4 cautions overall, which I thought we would have more, but a lot of that was because when people were spinning out, they were spinning out towards the infield section and either getting the car on the apron and driving back in the pits or taking tows. So we could have had several more because coming out of those corners, coming out of 2 and coming out of 4, man, it was easy for that car to get real mad and upset and for you to lose the rear end on that car with those track temperatures. But mostly, I mean, I kind of maintained as good of a position as I could. The race itself was fairly uneventful, except for, I was trying a fuel strategy. This is the first race I think I've done in the IndyCar series where I actually, my first pit stop, we'd gone green up to that point, and my first pit stop I had actually came in, I short pitted for tires, and I still had enough fuel to take me another 10 laps, I think it was, or something like that. And it's like, no, I got to get in. I'm going to die out here if I stay out here. So I came in, got tires, short pitted. The last stint, I tried to plan, I wanted tires, but I was waiting until I was at least in my fuel window just in case. But we ended up with a pit or a yellow at the end there, so everybody was basically in their window. So fuel strategy kind of went out. But the basics of the race were, I kind of fought to get to my position. I was hoping for, to get myself into another top 5 kind of position was my goal. I got myself in that range, and then the last bit of the race, the last 15 laps of that race, was basically me not trying to crash. I wasn't trying to pass people. I wasn't trying to gain time on positions. I wasn't really trying to get ahead of the people behind me. I was literally driving the car and just trying not to crash it for 15 laps is how that race ended, because the car was so greasy on the track. It's just, I was literally in survival mode. Like every corner, that car was trying to kill me. It was real bad. Although I did pull, the only real noteworthy thing that happened during that race is there was one particular driver who, I don't know if it was because of car control or because they loved to block, but man, they were driving all over the place. They looked out of control. And several people had mentioned it, and then I came up on them. I was definitely faster than them, but I didn't want to stick my nose in there and pass because he was going top of the track, bottom of the track, middle of the track, top, bottom, top. It's like, if I go in there, I'm pretty sure he's coming down anyway. So, it's like I don't want to put myself in a position to pass him, but I know if I get by him, I'll zoom away from him because I know I'm way faster. So I kind of backed off a little bit and waited for the guy who was on the lead lap that was coming up behind me. It's like, all right, I'm going to let you by, and then as soon as you come by me, I'm going to tuck right underneath, and I'm pretty sure he's going to move out of your way because we were on the same lap. I was on the same lap as the guy at the time. It's like, he doesn't have to move out of my way, and he won't, especially the way he's driving, but I bet you he'll move out of his way. So I just basically tucked right into the tailpipe of the lead lap guy, And we just zoomed right on by, so I made a smart move as opposed to trying to force the situation because I didn't want to end up with a smashed up car. But in the end, and also Josh Matlock, who I've mentioned before, was one of my main competitors, although he missed a bunch of races, so unfortunately he's not really going to be competing for the championship anymore, but he managed to get out there. He had a bit of a rough race. He spun at least fairly early on, but we ended up on the same lap and competing at the very end. But I managed to hold him off. Now, it was because he kind of spun out and he kind of damaged his car a little bit, but still, I beat him, and that's all that matters. Fair and square. Mono a mono. And Chad he sneezed and he just never came back. It was weird. But, so anyway, I beat Josh in that race. He was the guy who was chasing me down. But in the end, I ended up finishing in 4th place with 0 incident points. And gained some iRating, gained some safety rating. I'm back up to a 4.75 after Milwaukee and Mid-Ohio beat my safety rating up almost to the point where I lost my 4. But I've gained back, most of that. Got some good championship points. But one of the main things I'm proud of with that race was the 0 incidents, because since I started racing the IndyCar, I don't think other than Milwaukee, where it was me and lack of practice mostly, but I've never driven the car in such a fashion where I had to fight it every lap to just keep it from spinning out every lap. Like I was messing with the weight jack, or I was messing with that, but I was fighting that car like lap after lap after lap. So to actually manage to not spin the thing out, and I tried a couple times. Like I got at some good angles, but saved it a couple times. But I was actually really happy that I managed to actually get it in with not scraping the wall, not spinning out, nothing. And that was hard. Like I worked hard to make that happen. So I was quite happy with that. So in the end, now that drop weeks are starting to play into the calculation, because we're 20 weeks in. Well, this is week 21 now. So we are sitting with, I'm sitting at basically a 100-point lead over Tommy Toe, who I've mentioned as well. He looks like basically the only guy I'm really competing with is Tommy now. And I have a 100-point lead on him. We're now at even races because we're both sitting with 19 weeks. Count it, because the drop weeks have started to come into play. So it is going to be, now we'll see how it all plays out. I don't know what his drop weeks look like. They might look better or worse than mine. I know he only actually missed 1 week, so he only has 1 0 in there, which is, well, now obviously taken out with the drop week. So we'll see how this all plays out. But I'm feeling good about my chances. We're at COTA this week. I haven't had a chance to practice yet. And then I think we're at Twin Ring Motegi next week for the Oval. So I'm going to try to get that race in early next week before, say, I don't know, somebody gouges my eyeballs out. So I'm going to try to get the race early in the week, as opposed to waiting until I have my surgery done. So, because I won't be racing then. So 100-point lead going into week 21 here. I'm liking my odds of getting this championship. But, we shall see. Tommy is definitely still a threat in there. But that was my week on the track. And I just just wanted to, Danny just tweeted out a picture about anesthesia with me talking about my surgery, and yeah. Anyway, one quick note I want to mention is I did have my first broadcast race with the Global Sim Racing Channel guys on Sunday, and that was a lot of fun. It was great to get back up in the booth. Had a great time with the two guys up there, Sam and Bill, calling that race. It was a 2 hour 24 minute race, so 2.24. It was basically their 2.4 hour race, and it was. They had GT3 cars, GT1 cars, and the DP out there, but they did it in an interesting fashion. With they did what they call the Predator format, and they kind of calculated out how long these cars would take to get around the track. So they were all actually classified as one class. So it wasn't multi-class racing, So the GT3 cars started, and then there was a time penalty that the GT1s stayed in the pit lane. Then they were released, and then a further time penalty, and the DPs were put out. So the theory being, at the end of the race, you'd be competing on a level playing ground, so to speak. So that made for a really cool race to watch because of it, but man, did it make for a confusing race to call, because you're looking at all the cars. Because it's not multi-class, it didn't color code the drivers when I'm looking at the standings and stuff, so I don't know who's in what car. And of course, this is my first experience with this series. Like, the guys I was working with were kind of familiar, so they knew the guys a little bit better than I did. So I'm looking, it's like, I don't know who's in what car. I don't know I don't know. So it was a challenge for my first race to actually be calling as co-commentator. But fortunately, the guys that I was working with were really on the ball. But it was a lot of fun. I think I did a good job up there. It was, I had the other guys laughing. I brought my sense of humor into the booth, to kind of add some levity to it. But it was a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying working with those guys. Their next races that I'd be calling would be on the 21st of February. Their Daytona 500. I'm not going to be able to make that because I have prior commitments. But I'll be back in the booth in March for their next race, which I believe has that same Predator format. But at least I'm used to it. Although it was funny when I got up in the booth. Basically, the first experience, we're kind of going over the format and how it's going to be, and the lead commentator, Bill, basically he said, it's like, this Predator format, I don't understand. Like, can you explain this to me? Like, how does this work and stuff? And then the guy who, what's his name? Kind of the broadcast guy in the background. He had the director. Thank you. The director.
Did you just say thank you?
I was thanking my brain for remembering something. I do that occasionally because it doesn't do that often.
You're welcome.
No, I'm talking to myself. I forgot you were here, actually. Sometimes I just sitting down in my office and I just talk into the microphone for no reason. For no reason. I just sit there and talk. But anyway, the director was, kind of went over it, and Bill's like, man, I don't get this, whatever. And then he starts going over, here's how we're going to start. I'm going to start with this, and then Sam, you're going to do this, and whatever. So Trevor, okay, then you're going to come on, and then you're going to explain the Predator format. And it's like, okay, so we're going to start this out with, here's the thing nobody understands. Trevor, for new guy, you explain it. It's like, oh, great. But anyway. Great bunch of guys. I'm so glad to be working with them up in the booth. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys got a chance to check it out. If not, then it's on their, the replay's on their YouTube channel if you want to go kind of watch me struggle figuring out who's in what car. And the format actually worked out great because the car that won wasn't a DP. It was actually a GT3. It was a GT3 car that actually won the race with a DP in second, and I think it was actually a DP in third and then a GT1 in fourth. But anyway, it actually spread out quite nicely, and it was some really good racing. And it was cool because as opposed to multi-class racing, where you always just get out of the way of the faster cars, here you're not encouraged to do that because you're really actually competing with them for position. So it was a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys checked it out. I'll be back up there with those guys in March. Doing the third round for the Pacific Majors. Bunch of really good racers in there too, so it was really cool to call those guys out there, and I think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. So anyway, I just want to update you guys on that as well. So with all that being said, I think let's just go over our poll question here, Mr. Chad.
I think we should.
You go over the poll question while I read what you guys have been talking about me on the chat. Yeah.
Catch up. So the poll question for January was, how often do you check out the iRacing first official sporting code, which of course is the rulebook? The options we gave you were weekly, monthly, never, twice or more per year, once a year, daily, each updated version, or only when you joined iRacing. And the results are in. And only when I joined iRacing, stole, literally, the show, by getting 56% of the votes. Second place was each updated versions with 22% of the votes. Daily, surprisingly, came in third with 6% of the votes. Once a year at 5% of the votes. Twice or more per year, also 5% of the votes. Never 4%, which is a little scary. Monthly at 1%, and weekly got nothing. Nada.
So 6%. So what we're saying is 6% of our listeners are liars. Daily? Who checks the sporting code daily?
The
Well,
6% of the people that voted for it.
Like, well, it's like, oh, it's about that time of day again. Time to go read through the sporting code again. Yeah, make sure I got it down to memory.
Well, let's see. Where was I yesterday? I was at roll 12-789. Let's pick up here. I personally voted for each updated version, mostly because they'll occasionally toss in a new rule. It doesn't always happen, but I'll typically look it back over and kind of refresh my memory on a few things, but also check out the new rule or rules that they added. I will pull out the famous IRTRS asterisk here, though, and say that while I do say each updated version, I probably would go with only when I joined iRacing as well. When I read the whole thing. So far as checking out is definitely each updated version. But, yeah. So what'd you vote for, Mr. I'm going to catch up in the chat?
I voted for twice or more per year, and that I say that mostly because to kind of indicate that I basically only check it when I have a question about a particular rule. I went through it when I first joined. I have gone through it, when there's major sections that they mention in the release notes that have been updated. I will go check those out, but for the most part, it kind of works out to twice a year, because I figure about every 6 months there's something that I'm just kind of curious about when it comes to a rule, or something that a listener's mentioned, through Twitter or something like that, or it ties into something we've talked about on the show, and I'll go and see what the actual rule is. For example, I know we looked up a couple things when Nim came on the show, because there's a couple people that had questions and stuff. So basically twice a year, based on need more than anything, is what it all comes down to.
Right. And thank you all for voting in last month's poll question. There is a new poll question for the month of February on our website, and it is in similar taste, if you will, to the one we just did in January, but it is a little bit different. So head over there and let us know what you think before February the 29th when it closes down, and we will talk about that at the beginning of March.
Yes, and remember, it is a short month, so don't be all like, I'll just do it on the 30th. It'll be cool, because there's no 30th.
No. No 30th. Although it is a leap year, so you get an extra day in February, but not that many extra days. So, I think that covers it.
I think it does.
This is not last week. This is your time to talk now.
Well, I know. I was finishing a thought. Okay, fine. But, so, just in case, you forgot, remember, we will not be here next week. Trevor will be off live streaming his surgery, apparently, if the chat gets its way. For the record, not going to happen.
We want Trevor's surgery. When do we want it? Next Thursday.
Now, maybe I might tweet out a picture of how bad I look afterwards. I don't know. We'll see. I'm concerned about what my face is going to look like, but hopefully everything will be fine. Everything will go, all good. I'll keep you guys updated on Twitter when it's all said and done, in case you're sitting there worrying about me saying, "Oh, I hope Trevor's okay." I'll let you know. Everything's cool. Chad doesn't care, but you people might. I have fans. I'm a big deal on Twitter, man. People care about me.
Can I meet them?
So no show next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks for our double show week, 131 and 131.5. So make sure that you
send in those sim rigs.
Yep, if you haven't done so already, you still have time. So for those people who have messaged, and we've had people come in through Twitter and people come in through the chat here asking if they missed the deadline, You did. But then we extended it, so it's okay. Anyway.
Allow this.
For all that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you out there for listening. We really do appreciate you guys hanging with us for these 130 episodes. It's been a great run so far, and we're going to keep doing it, unless my eyes fall out, because then it'll be hard to watch the show note, read the show notes at that point in time. Remember, the show is... What's that?
I said I'll just take over.
Okay, fair enough. Well, see, you'll do all the stuff that's prepared, and then I'll just react to it. You know, hey Trevor, how was your experience on track today? Not good. It was nighttime at the track. Forgot to turn the lights out. Oh right, I forgot. My eyeballs fell out when they started messing with the skin around them.
I don't know what I'm doing. Please help me.
I'm not Kimi Räikkönen. I have no idea what I'm doing. Please talk to me. I'm lonely.
Dark.
Remember, the show is available for download on iTunes under the podcast section, where we would really appreciate a review to help us get the word out if you haven't done so already. The show is also archived on YouTube under Ratface Productions. That's my YouTube channel, and it is mirrored over on its Cadillac. You can check out the website for live shows, archives, information, links, just about everything related to the show. Chad's done a great job over there to make sure that anything you need to know about that show is right there, from when we're doing the shows, from when we're talking about the shows afterwards. You can all catch that up over at iRacingTodayRadio.com. Remember to follow us on Twitter for live surgery updates. Excuse me, Doc. I gotta tweet out an update. They've made the first incision. I can see blood now. Trying not to panic.
For the door. Hashtag.
Hashtag running for the door. If you want those updates, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at iRacing Today. And if you want updates that say Chad does not care about Trevor's condition, you can follow Chad. He's over at It's Cadillac.
Grumpy Face Chad. Please email any questions, comments, and poll suggestions. And of course, by February the 11th, our final extended no more deadline date, hardcore date of your SimRig pictures and specs. Busted speculations, but that wouldn't have been the right word.
No, we're not.
You can send all that to feedback at iRacingTodayRadio.com. And of course, feel free to add myself and Trevor as friends over at iRacing.com if you have not yet already. If you are thinking about joining the sim and then you say, hey, I'm going to do it, let's go, please take the time to refer either Trevor or myself in the referral box by entering redface with 2t's at gmail.com. And the 2t's is not a part of the email address.
Wait,
you know what? I'm just going to restart. Yeah, I want to shoot people.
I know what you're trying to say, and I don't know what you said.
Ratface at gmail.com with 2t's. Or iRacingLegend at gmail.com, which is a not confusing email address because it's just straightforward.
The confusing part is it also contains 2 T's, and I don't understand where to put them.
But until 2 weeks from now, ladies and gentlemen, remember that the race is rarely won in the first turn.
But it is often lost there. Good night, everybody. See you in a couple of weeks.